Let's go. He's coming. Facts, Lies, One Truth Network. We have two Joes, Wannabe pros with Ox and Meisch. Meisch is coming in hot right there off the jump.
I'm ready.
Okay. I think we got a lot. You're coming in kind of cold to this, to be honest with you.
Cold as in because of my week.
Yeah, well, of course, but we don't have to talk about the week, but you got a lot coming at you here. Did you take a nap?
I did. I got an hour and a half nap in. I feel like I could have slept for 4.
Man, isn't that after you go on like I don't know if you want to call it a bender, but after you go on something so intense like that, right? It's just like, man, I could sleep. I need a full day of rest.
100%.
Right? You're just like, oh, I need a full day. I'm exhausted. Because you've been traveling, you've been partying, and then you've been traveling, and then you've been partying. Well, I don't know if you would call it concerting. Concerting? I guess that's the right term. I don't know. You know what I mean. You just you've been doing a lot, and we're back doing the podcast now, which is nice.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why we're a couple days late this week. But
yeah, we are. We'll get better. We got NFL coming up, so you'll get a lot better with that. We have to because they play on Thursday. They have a Thursday game off the jump next week?
this upcoming week. We've got a Thursday and a Friday game.
Wow, dude. And a Friday game this coming week?
And Green Bay versus the Eagles in Sao Paulo.
How do I not know this?
I don't know. Because you've been focused on college football. It's all right.
And it's already too much. You're about to figure out that like I had to focus on Thursday, which we'll get into that. And then I got Friday tonight. We got a game in a half hour. And then I got a lot of Saturday stuff. A lot of Saturday. Yeah, and a Monday. Florida State coming back at you. Boston College sitting at 16. It was 16 and a half. So yeah. Anyway, follow us on Apple.
There, by the way,
what you got?
Interesting from a handicap. I mean, I don't think we're going to cover that one, but just because I think when I think about that game, we know the trends. So teams coming off that week 0 game have a disadvantage because the other team has film. Plus, they're coming back from Ireland. Yep. However, you're going to have a motivated Florida State team, because they cannot afford to lose any more conference games. So I just think we have trends going against each other. So that's why I think the handicap is interesting for that one.
It's weird. I saw something today when I was kind of browsing around the social media, right? They showed Norvell's speech after that game, funny enough. And Norvell's, I like him. I do, but here's the thing. He's a lot for me. He's such a head coach, it's annoying. Like, I feel
explain yourself.
He just talks. Everything he says is motivational. Like, I just when he talks to his wife, is it like, honey, we got to wake up every day. We got to devote our love to each other. We got to try hard. It's 100% every day for loving. And it's just like, bro, like, do you ever just like breathe and chill?
Did you just turn it off sometimes?
Just turn it off? Like, do you just breathe? Like, I feel like he doesn't do that.
That's how I feel about Mike Tomlin.
Ooh.
I feel like he wakes up too and he's like, wife, we're gonna have a great day today. We're gonna go make some eggs. You know, it's just all motivation.
Interesting take, because I don't know if I feel that way for him.
Really? He just seems like such a rah-rah guy.
Yeah, well, he's pretty good at it, but I mean, I guess so is Norvell, I guess, so to speak. But like when I listen, I don't know. It just now that I'm listening to all the Norvell stuff, if you see the speech after the game, he's like, "We're better than this, and you deserve better from me. You deserve better from." I'm like, okay, you're not going to blame your players. You're not going to walk in the locker room after getting literally out physicaled, right? By a physical, you know what I mean, by another team, and say, "Well, you guys just aren't tough enough."
Right. Even though that's what everybody else is saying, you're not going to tell your players that. You got to keep them.
You're not going to say that. So I was just like, all right, whatever, dude. But you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Facts, Lies, One Truth Network. This is episode 2, week 1 college football. Week 0 kind of was the pregame, I guess, if you will. Great week in terms of games. Oh my gosh, I thought it was great. I don't know how much you watched of it. I know obviously you definitely watched. We were texting Georgia Tech in the Florida State game in Dublin. Mm-hmm. That really kind of started it all off. But at the same token, Montana State game was great.
It really was.
SMU Nevada could be very week 0, the upset of the year. 28, I think's what it ended at, dog there. And they were winning a lot of the game. Should have won. They didn't. Hawaii was favored by 40. That was a 21-point deficit if you were still up at the time. You had that. I don't know. I just thought there was a lot of good games when you thought week 0 could have been a dud, and it was not. So
yeah, I think it's well said. I think from like the hardcore fans that watch the game because it's like football's back after 6 months, we got treated. We did, because it's not like the lineup was great, but the games were so tight and there were upsets and everything to the end. Yeah, it was a surprisingly good week last week. Yeah,
and we got where we were right. I was right on Georgia Tech FSU. My bet of the game we talked about a little bit more in depth is I had under 55.5. That looked really good. Late got dicey. Texted you about overtime. Would have fucked me. I had under 55.5. I actually even live doubled down on that because it started out hot, if you remember. We had a score pretty quick on both sides.
Yes.
On that second score there when Georgia Tech punched it in, I slid in on also 62.5 of that because I was like, dude, there ain't no fucking way. It's raining, right? These teams, I mean, Georgia Tech runs the ball. We saw that. And Florida State really devoted to the run. They really did.
Well, they weren't throwing the ball downfield.
They were not.
When they did throw, it was right in front of them. So a lot of completions is my point. Keep the clock running.
We were talking about PFF last week of your subscription. I actually dove into DJ Aujale's numbers, and they actually grade out pretty decent. Not elite. He wasn't the best quarterback of the day. He did not grade out as the best. But I thought he would be near the bottom. He was not. He's middle tier. And he actually hit a lot of good passes short. And even I was kind of trashing him on text, even at that 10-ish to 15-yard marker range, he actually hit a lot there too. Good completion percentage. But I think he hit none outside of that 15 to 20 or more.
Yeah. And the guy was a 5-star recruit because he's got a cannon. I mean, everything I was listening to and reading about the game, I mean, through the first half, his average air yards versus the line of scrimmage for like his 16 attempts, negative 0.1 yards.
Really?
Yes. Like, that's how much they were not letting him throw the football. And when they had to let him throw in the fourth quarter because they had to come back, he wasn't bad. Now, he wasn't throwing a bomb, like you said, but, he was actually getting some 10-yard attempts. Anyways, that's just, when I heard those stats with their running game, the under was the perfect bet, the way that game played out.
I think when you kind of look at the numbers, like, I thought it was going to be way worse than it was. I did. I thought it was going to be awful. And it actually ended up being pretty good in terms of an overall perspective. They lost the game. It was bad. But I thought this was his fault because he can't air it out. Now I'm kind of shifting on, did they just give up on the play calling? They try to play not to lose. And they were running the ball a ton late. I texted you. They were running the ball a lot, like first, second down, right? I mean, I'm assuming they were trying to get to the short distance of third down, right? And really kind of manage that more with his throwing ability. I was just surprised. At the end of the day, Georgia Tech was just a better team.
They were the better team.
That day.
A more physical team. Yes.
That day, they were just better. It's going to be pretty cool, maybe, to see how they play their ACC schedule. And I'm talking Georgia Tech here because they're not predicted by any means to even get close to winning this thing. And I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying it's going to be interesting to see how Brent Key gets this team motivated to play in the ACC. A little bit weaker conference than others. So.
Yes.
Yeah. But you lost. We had FSU. Was that your bet of the week there last week?
Yes.
FSU minus 11.
Yeah. So if we're shifting to what we got wrong, that is me.
Okay.
Betting, yes, I gave out FSU minus 11, so that was a loser.
Yeah.
Strong 0-1 start to the year for me. Since we were texting during the game, I at least did take Georgia Tech live. So I didn't end up losing money, but as far as anybody that listened, didn't help them.
Yeah, we don't have the live bet. We don't count the live bets.
We do
so
not.
That actually helped me too, a live bet. I had SMU shifting to that, minus 24.5. I even got the better number. by almost 3 full points of movement of the SMU Nevada game, and I lost that by about a zillion. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, like, yeah, Nevada played, the 2-win team last year really played out of their ass. Now, we'll get into this as we come into the upcoming schedule here very shortly, but another team coming off week 0 playing a game has another game week 1. So, and how do they respond, right? How do they respond after a very emotional game that they should have won, playing SMU, and they were almost a 30-point underdog. I think that ended about a 28-ish spread there, 28.5 maybe at some books, and they almost won that. I know you were watching a little bit. You were going to live bet it, but I bet this game watching it probably scared the shit out of you. Like, nope, fuck that. I'm watching.
I still did live bet. I lost by 1.5. They got a -6.5. They won by 5.
Well, they went for 2 there, right? And they didn't get it.
So we had a chance. We had a chance with that number.
God, that would have been so badass.
Yes.
That would have been a doozy.
Because they looked terrible.
Yeah,
for
dude.
the game that I watched. It was whoa.
If you look at their quarterback, I know you're probably not looking at it right now, but I think their quarterback was either graded out for the day 1 or 2 for the night. Yes, I think the Hawaii quarterback actually graded out pretty damn good too. But I wasn't impressed with his arm for SMU, but maybe it's because their running game, which I expected to be really good. They got 3 backs that are really, really highly recruited, really good players for SMU, and they couldn't do shit. So they really had to rely on SMU, the quarterback's arm, and he graded out pretty well, I thought. I think he graded better than Ajale, actually, for Florida State. So I was like, okay, all right.
Well, maybe that makes sense, because as we were watching, we were texting. They were just a sloppy team.
Sloppy.
So, maybe it took his effort to get them even to get the W in that game.
Yep, sloppy team. Anyway, moving to upcoming week schedule, we had a lot of games last night. Good stuff. Not really, actually, just like 2 games, really. Minnesota, North Carolina was a great game. Came down to the last second field goal. I know you missed it, but it was missed. North Carolina, survived. PJ Fleck, Minnesota Golden Gophers. They got close. I watched a little bit of it. I was more tuned into that Sacramento State game, and we talked about that. That was my kind of pick for last night. Mm-hmm. And winning that, they didn't kind of. Sacramento State let me down. I had 3.5. They let me down on the San Jose State, but live betting saved me again last night for being a flake. I know you didn't bet any last night besides the loss that I gave you with Jacksonville State. Phil still was on Jacksonville State, so I wouldn't necessarily say it was a bad pick, but it was definitely a dead pick. It was pretty dead.
It was dead pretty early, but
it was dead early. I'm
sorry. You know what saved me, though? I took the under in the Minnesota UNC game.
You did? What a great under that would have been.
Yes, I did not watch the game. I was at the concert, but I took the under, so it was still a 1-1 night for me.
Damn, you killed that.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, we can move on to the next day.
And we're moving on to today. We don't want to – last night, let's be honest, like great week 0, kind of a dud week 1 Thursday. Really it was. Besides the North Carolina game and the Colorado game, there was only 2 games that were studs. Yeah. You know what I mean? And be honest with you, I hate blaming officiating. I am never one to blame officiating in every game, but I thought the way they called the Colorado game was a bit interesting. Let's just say it in the basketball terms. They let a lot of things go. We had some targetings involved that weren't called. We had some holds that weren't called. We had some pass interferences that weren't called. And then I'll also throw this at you. I think my most hated call in any type of football, pro or college, is the old underthrown deep pass. DB's covering him, and the guy tries to come back and make a catch, but the DB's just doing his job, doesn't see it, and he basically obstructs the offensive player, the receiver, from receiving the ball. What are you supposed to do? What do you expect them to do?
They get rewarded for a bad pass. That's what happens.
That's exactly right, and that's what saved them.
Yeah, because the cornerback is obviously playing the receiver. He's right on top of him, so
killing it.
He's reacting to the receiver. So when the receiver just stops and gets plowed over
because
the ball's 5 yards short. Yeah, I'm with you.
That's exactly what happened to Colorado. It was a 3rd down and 8. It was a little bit long, and they needed the first down to win the game. And obviously Colorado can't run, so they decided to throw, even though they were winning, and got a pass interference call because of it. And because it was severely underthrown by Sanders. So, yeah, Colorado kind of came out victorious because of certain reason, but, there's a lot of calls in the game that changed a bit. Anyway, tonight.
Last thing on that. We'll see if we ever talk about Colorado, but I did go watch just the fourth quarter.
Oh, okay. And
I could not fall asleep right when I got home, so I was like, listen, let's just watch this.
Saw the best quarter.
Here's what I have to say. I am just so absolutely unimpressed with Colorado's coaching staff. They can recruit for days. I don't think they know shit, man. I'll say it. I'll say it on the internet. I'll tell everyone. I do not. When they get inside the red zone, like you said, they have no ability to run. No. And I don't think they are playing the other coach and what they were trying to do. They're just trying to get Travis Hunter one-on-one, throw it up. And it's lazy to me. That is lazy coaching.
Their receiving is their skill players. Let's go back to that.
Great.
Oh my God. They got 3 guys that can catch football now. Joe Horn Jr., Webster, which is from FAU, first team All AAC last year, and then obviously, I'm assuming a top 15 pick is a safe play.
Probably so. I would
top
say
15 pick is safe. Travis Hunter.
He plays so good on both sides of the ball. I don't even know what'll go, but he's good on both sides of the ball.
I mean, I'm assuming receiver makes you the most money. I'm assuming that would be the safest play.
I think you're right on that. I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So. Anyway, they got skill players that are good, but my gosh. So they got a brand new O-line coach this season. I would assume they would get better. They would gel coaching and factors in as the season progresses with film, right? You weaknesses, screwing up makes you better. Just like at your job, the more you suck, hopefully you care about getting better. Same with me. I'm assuming the same is here. But by God, man, North Dakota State, an FCS team, I know they're generally on the higher echelon of FCS. But if they tear you up, Big 12 does have some D-lines that don't play. All right? And good luck.
After watching last night's game, I would make the prediction that Colorado will not make a bowl game again this year.
I would 100% agree. I know Dion said it's all about wins and losses. You're damn right, but you better get 6.
Yeah.
I thought the O-line would be a little better, but they're so undersized. If you look, I've looked them. I did a lot of research on them ahead of the year. They're all undersized, 5'10", 5'11" guys out here. Right, the center is the most inexperienced, lowest recruit. Right, in terms of you can recruit skill players for days, but you and I both know it's one in the trenches.
Yep, absolutely.
You can't get physical, man.
I thought they learned that because at least in the transfer portal, that's why it's all new starters. But they didn't look any better last night. I mean.
No,
they did not look like a dominant offensive line that got all these former 5-star and 4-star recruits. They did not.
And defensively, I thought they'd be a little better. With all due respect, though, North Dakota State does have a new coaching staff, but their quarterbacks are back. So they have both their starter and a backup are back.
Okay.
And their starting quarterback ain't a joke. That dude can move an offense.
He was jacked up last night.
I know it's Colorado. I guess we could downplay that, but it is a Power 5 team, and North Dakota State's playing them. But that dude can move an offense. So it'll be interesting to see how North Dakota State progresses with them. I'm assuming they'll be pretty good. South Dakota State's kind of taken over that FCS realm now with winning championships. But I think it's a worry. And you can have the skill players for days, but it always comes down to O-line. If you can't give your quarterback time to throw, it's going to be a long year. And dude, Shador takes shots, man. He takes so many hits. How has he been healthy for a year in a game?
Right. He's a little guy.
Oh my gosh, dude. I just saw some shots last night. I was like, dude, because if he goes down, they're done.
See you later.
We're talking 2 wins, I'm assuming, probably.
They won't be pretty.
Because you don't want to throw the ball with your backup. So.
Yeah. And they don't have a running game. And
you don't have a running game. You're probably the worst. I mean, definitely on the preseason rankings from Phil Still, they are debatably the worst running team in the country. They don't do it either, right? If you don't do it, right? So kind of like the NFL thing, right? The best teams with the best O-lines run the ball, right? Because they have a good O-line, right? Colorado knows they have a bad O-line, so they don't run the ball. So it's kind of hand in hand. But anyway, that's enough about the Buffs and Ralphie there. But big night for you. 9 minutes away. We'll touch on your favorite here. We got the Jayhawks last night versus Lindenwood. I think, Daniels, if you're just you got some lunch money in your board, I think a Heisman pick for Daniels for Kansas is actually not a terrible pick. I don't want to get stuck on that. I think he's a great player in terms of the college ranks. But Oklahoma tonight, it's huge. They won 73-0 last year. Oklahoma has Temple at 7:00 Eastern tonight. Thoughts? Do we need another 73-0 performance here for the Sooners, or what you got?
Wouldn't mind it. We won 70. We're breaking in a new quarterback.
You are
Jackson Arnold. I believe he's a true sophomore, maybe a redshirt freshman, because he only played in a few games last year, so it's however they designated him. But former 5-star guy, was the number 1 recruit in the class. So that's who I'm excited to see slinging around. So. Yes, as they go into the SEC, I hope they can beat the shit out of the teams that are not in the SEC, so they have a chance. Yeah.
It's huge in terms of their conference realignment, right? They're actually starting up with another Division I opponent. They had Arkansas State last year, 73-0, and Arkansas State was a bowl team last year, funny enough. And I believe that was the highest deficit of all time. 73-0 is the biggest deficit, I believe, of week 1 of all time last year. You look me up on that, but they didn't score. Remember Butch, what's his name? Butch Jones, cried. He cried after that game last year.
Really?
Yeah, versus Oklahoma. He cried. And they made a bowl game, which is insane. Anyway, Temple is a terrible team. I do not expect a lot. it looks like the number has jumped, depending what book you see it here on your screen. Depending what book you get, 43.5, 43. I got a bad number, I guess, 43.5, but it looks like there's some 42s bouncing around up there and whatnot. But I got 43.5. I still like it. For the most part, Temple's a pretty rough team, dude. They just, I don't know, man. Not a lot of returning starters, right? And they actually have a new coach, and I think they have a new quarterback, and it's just,
it's not a lot of hope. That's
Oklahoma. This is, they want to come out firing. They did last year, and it actually opened up at 39.5. Is also what I have here. So it's actually even jumped, even though it's been back and forth. So yeah, I mean, I think I got a 43.5. Do you have anything on that? Are you a Sooner guy? I didn't know if you slid in there with me. And I think you took the over.
I made a bet.
Okay.
It was a DraftKings boost, to be fair. Sometimes they send out like these little 2-hour boosts. And what it was is that OU will score 50 or more points, but they gave me plus 200. And the reason I took that is because the line's at 43. I'm like, well, they think they're going to win by 43, so they could win 50-7, hit that line, and then I win my bet at plus 200 versus taking what I feel like is a very similar bet at minus 110.
Yeah, I actually kind of like it.
Yeah, and it was you. You had text earlier and said you were actually going to be on OU, and so when I saw that, I was like, plus 200. That makes a lot of sense for a spread that it's that big.
Yeah, but
just from a value standpoint,
I love it. I mean, here's my favorite is the last 7 games, Temple versus in terms of like openers, 1-6 against the spread.
Wow,
I love that.
Wow, love that.
Yeah,
supports both our bets.
Yeah, last 7 games, and they were actually pretty good before those 7 games. So I don't know if you want to add in the 8 games, but they actually had some pretty big wins on the openers there. But they're 1-7. And it's funny enough because they only have 5 returning starters on both sides of the ball. You know what I mean? I just don't like it.
I know OU's got a lot. OU has a lot of returning starters, especially on defense.
Yes, and they're middle high because there's a lot of SEC teams now, but they're middle high in terms of returning experience.
Yeah.
So it's not like they're bottom of the barrel, right? It's like some teams are, like a Michigan is. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like they're a lot better, which is positive. And as an away dog, this head coach 3-7. So it sold me on how bad they are on openers and how bad they are as a away dog. I was like, and playing at Oklahoma, it's going to be packed, I'm assuming, right? So I was like, yeah.
OU's got a lot to prove, a lot of returning starters. I think, with all those in conjunction, it's worth making a bet.
And I'm just looking at this right off the top here. The last 3 years, this will be the third year for the head coach for Temple.
Okay.
He only averages 3 covers a year.
God, that is terrible.
He can't even cover spreads. So
does this guy have a job?
I know. I'm leaning, dude, this has got to be it. I mean, but then again, it's Temple. It's hard to recruit at Temple.
Yeah.
It's hard to recruit.
So I like our bets. I like where we're at there.
Okay. All right.
Good enough trends and points to take that.
Yeah. Well, Western Kentucky, Alabama. We got. I love this one. I'd actually kind of talked you into it. I think. I don't know. We have it up here, but the main number I got here is, and I texted you this right there. We got 32, some 31s and a half there, actually. But I talked to you because DeBoer, head coach of Alabama. I'm a push guy as a win, right? Mm-hmm. If you don't count the Natty last year as a head coach, all-time non-conference, he's undefeated.
Jeez. I mean, he has an impressive resume.
12-0.
That is wild.
If you don't count the Natty.
And so you're on Bama then? Is that what you're telling me?
I'm all on Bama, my brother.
Okay.
All on Bama here. I'm a big Bama guy with this one. And you know what? I've always thought the really, really high spreads, it's a little bit tough to take. This one's not that high. I got a 31.5.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Yeah, 31.5. This one's sitting at, see, it's creeping up to some 32s there. See, it's taking up 32s. And,
sorry. Finish your thought. My bad.
I was saying that a lot of people have Bama not regressing. They'll be every bit in the thick of the SEC championship. They'll be every bit in the thick of the playoff, and they will not regress whatsoever because they're just going to rebuild, and they get their quarterback back.
I was pretty much going to say something very similar. Everything I've heard is with DeBoer, people are like kind of overreacting to Saban leaving, but it's like, hey, this coach they brought in, they didn't lose much as far as transfers. Look at his resume; he's been great, and they think how his system is going to be perfect for Jalen Milroe. And so, yeah, I've seen some very bullish takes on not like them to win the title, but bullish as far as preseason expectations.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, and another thing too. So 61% of the tickets are in Western Kentucky.
Shut up. Okay.
88% of the cash is on Bama.
Yeah. Because a lot of these numbers say that we're seeing here, right? We have the insane DeBoer against non-conference opponents against the spread. That's insane alone. I got another one for you. You ready for this one?
Let's go.
Head coach of Western Kentucky. He's been there. This is his 6th year. This is his 6th year. As a double-digit dog, 0-6 against the spread. As a double-digit dog against the spread.
Man, these are some powerful stats. All right, I'm taking Bama now.
As a double-digit dog. Now, if you want to get real nitty-gritty, it's up to you. As an away dog, flat out, he's 11-5. Double-digit dog, 0-6. It's a double-digit thing. It's if he's a dog going somewhere playing his similar opponent, sounds like he handles. It's when he's going against the big dogs.
Yeah. Yep, because that conference is obviously probably always Power 5 team, where he plays in the Group of 5 conference. So, yeah, he can get his guys to play on those. But, okay, no, that makes a ton of sense.
You told me all I need to know. I'm on the sharp side. The tickets, we say 88%. That's all I need to know.
And that's why I wanted to point that out, because that backs up so much taking Bama.
That's all I need to know, my friend. That's all I need to know. But, yeah, anything else you got on that? Did you take Bama? What you got there? Anything?
I'm going to take Bama. I had forgot we were texting about that, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to pull up those the green line stats really quick. And when I saw that it supported your bet, I'm like, yep, I'm talked into it. That happens sometimes, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Yep. The next one I got is a sneak attack one. I didn't really spell this one out super well, I guess, kind of in terms of me, is Stanford, TCU at Stanford. No one's going to watch this game.
Okay? I might tonight.
Well, it's not tonight. It's tomorrow.
The OU game.
Is it tonight?
This is tonight, I think. I think it's...
You're right, 10:30.
There we go.
We'll definitely be watching it. So I wanted to slide this in here because I didn't really think about it until I was kind of listening around, doing some, heavy listening and thinking about it. One thing I've learned is, like, Stanford apparently is one of the worst teams in the country with attendance.
Yes, I heard that too. Terrible.
You heard that too. Okay, I did not know that. Okay, this makes sense now. So out of every school in the country, they're 94th. So there's only 137, 139? I don't even know. I mean, total. This is a Power 5 school we're talking about here. And they're 94th? This is insane, right? So they don't have anyone come to their games. And second-year head coach, not great against the spread in any number. I think his best number is off a straight-up loss against the spread. He's 4-4. Everything else is a losing record. Yeah. So they don't cover spreads. He only covered 3 last year, ATS, total last year. And that was his first year. The only kicker is he kind of kept his group together. They got 10 returning starters on offense, 8 on defense.
Okay.
The pros are really big on opposite, like, teams that had a really bad year and looking for a rebound when they were good the year before. TCU obviously made the playoff, embarrassed themselves, but they made the playoff right a couple years ago. Last year, huge flake. Lost to Colorado, never found their way after that. I'm assuming you got to get a bounce back here this year. I'm not saying playoff. Let's relax. I'm saying I would assume on the road at Stanford, seeing how they flaked their ass off last year as a ranked team versus Colorado, I got to see a bounce back week 1 this year, right?
From TCU.
So I'm kind of going off feel here. I am. I'm going off feel.
What I'm hearing then is you like TCU more because this was a stay away game for me.
Okay.
Because I there were so many different things that I felt like were pulling on each other in different directions that I said, I'm just going to sit back and watch this one. But it sounds like you're more on TCU here.
I am because this is Sonny Dykes' third year. Third year is usually when the coaches kind of get a groove, right? You get your recruits in, you kind of get it. You're used to the program, got your message out, trying to set a tone, blah, blah, blah. Plus, you're going into no one's going to be there, so you're going somewhere. And, as an away dog, Sonny Dykes ain't that bad at TCU. It doesn't have a ton. Doesn't have a ton of stats to it, but at all time, he's 21-22 as a full-time head coach. So that's pretty much 500.
Yep.
Right? And I got a really, really juicy one right here. If it even matters to you or not. Since 2014, TCU, not Sonny Dykes, so take with a grain of salt. I like how that focus there was trippy. Since 2014, TCU, 7-1 on the road against the spread as a dog.
Okay. I hear that one. Those stats are so hard anymore because roster turnover is so crazy year to year. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you use those.
Trends are, I don't know if a grain of salt, maybe a nickel.
Yeah. Listen, if I have a trend, I am not scared to admit if it's like a 50% trend, sometimes I play it.
I didn't even put the game up. There we go.
Still in the old one. But no, I hear you with trends because some trends I'll just bet the trends. And I think my most powerful bets is when trends align with what my eyes see plus what I'm looking at some PFF stats. Those are one like my strongest bets. But sometimes if I want action and there's a strong trend, I'll take it. So I don't mind that trend. I'm just since 2014, like so much has happened in that. There's been different coaches, completely different players. I just don't know how that trend works. But I think more than anything that you said, it's the TCU bounce back year.
I would third year head coach, right? 5-7 last year, didn't make a bowl game. Obviously, the Colorado loss was huge right off the jump. Kind of shook them up a little bit. Going against the Stanford team, Stanford's kind of the same boat. They're trying to get an identity second year. I see that game being good. I see that game being worth a watch. I'm on the 9. The spread has gone the other way, as you can see here. It's actually dipping to 8.5, so people are on Stanford late. I'm just kind of going with a little bit of a hunch. That's it.
Hey, that's fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just checking the green line right now to see if I can find anything that maybe.
Yeah, I would love to know the cash percentage that you have on the green line for Stanford and TCU. This could be the game of the night. It really could. I mean, I think these teams are trying to find identities on both sides. Got a third year and a second year head coach. One had a bad year last year. Stanford's actually been a shitty in general. It's going to be interesting to see how we come out. I mean, TCU is not going to factor into the Big 12 championship, right?
Agreed.
But it's going to be interesting to see how they factor in to a bowl game.
Yes. They want to get back after going to a title game and getting their ass kicked and then not even making a bowl game last year. You got to get back. You have to.
Get back. Yep.
You got to get back. So as far as what I'm seeing on PFF, so they are giving the edge to Stanford. They said this should be a 7.5 point spread. It is 8.5. Now take that what you will. They probably have a software like a lot of pros do, right? But they're showing a little bit of edge on Stanford. As far as cash and tickets, it's pretty close. 50% of the cash is on TCU, and they're getting 65% of the tickets. So not a huge discrepancy there.
Yeah.
I mean, Stanford is obviously taking a little bit more cash versus ticket comparison, but it's not big.
It's going to be a good game. That's what I hear.
Yeah, that's going to be one worth watching. We get a late game to watch. I'm not mad at that.
Yeah, we got the next one here. Probably, I mean, I think it's obviously super good for, the old West Virginia fan base, at least them. I think it's huge for Penn State as well, definitely for playoff implications. Penn State at noon at West Virginia. I'm assuming that's probably the best game at noon, probably in terms of you got Pat McAfee show there. That's huge. They did that today. That Pat White and Owen Schmidt, everybody there on the show, which was pretty cool. But this spread's been kind of, I don't know if you want to say all over the place, but it's been dipping. And I don't have a bet on it, but I'll say this. Man, this is huge really for both sides if you look at it. Like, West Virginia Mountaineers need a huge win. They really haven't had a mecca win in a really long time. And I think a win like this is huge for the program and then moving forward. I think they took a huge step last year, 8 wins, I believe, which was huge. And I think a win at home versus Penn State really gets them going in the right direction. I don't think a Big 12 title's in their future. I guess it's possible. But this is huge. Penn State on the flip side, they juke Michigan. They juke Ohio State, right? This is their year, man. They at least play for a Big 10 title, if not make the playoff for sure. This would only hurt their chances, I think, maybe in terms of seeding, so to speak, maybe for the playoff. But yeah, I would take the plus points. I think we kind of missed the juiciness there when it was closer to 10.
We did.
But I didn't know what your feelings were. I mean, it's the old Milan Puskar Stadium. Puskar Stadium for West Virginia. So I didn't know what your feeling was.
Is that what it's called?
It is.
Okay. Yes, I want to bet West Virginia. I want to. I don't have a ton of reasons. I want to root for the Big 12 school. And the market clearly agrees with that. The only hang up is just that we missed the best of the number. We could have got them at 10 just a couple days ago. Yep. Or, well, no, maybe not that recently, but the money has definitely been coming on West Virginia, and that drove this price down from at one point 10.5 to 8.5 now, 7.5. What I do know about Penn State, I'm a little bit bullish on them for the reasons you said. Easier schedule, and they're always that team that beats everybody that they should, and when they step up in class, they suck. They lose. They score 3 points. That is Penn State to me when I think about Penn State. And I'm like, always a bowl game team. But everything sets up for them this year. I'm a little bit bullish on them because I know more, or I have a connection to their offensive coordinator.
Oh.
So I'm sure he came from KU.
Hell yeah, okay.
He was with Lance Leopold for the last 2 or 3 years. Well, more than that, because I think he came with them even from his Buffalo and Wisconsin Whitewater days.
Okay.
And he's a really smart offensive coordinator. I love the OCs that use motion and they use pre-snap. They do a lot of pre-snap stuff to get the defense off balance, to get their quarterback a read on what the defensive coverage is if they're smart enough. I thought he was a huge reason, even when Daniels went down last year and we had to put him in. Now, Bean was a solid backup, no doubt, but I just think his system made it so much easier. And Penn State, I feel like they always have a great D, but their offense sucks. So that's another reason I haven't pulled the trigger, because my heart wants to go with West Virginia. The money's obviously poured in there. But if Penn State has a strong defense, and I think they have a more competent OC than they've ever had, that's the worrying part for me. But it's going to be very fun to watch either way. Are you going to make a bet on the game?
I'm not. I'm a little biased, obviously. I would love to take West Virginia. The late cover last year by Penn State really worries me, right? Fourth quarter, they covered. It was close going into the fourth quarter last year. That's why I was kind of like, I don't know about this. They scored 24 unanswered last year.
Oof.
To end up covering the spread. Now, I would expect better this year, being at home from West Virginia. Extremely tough place to play. Gosh, it's so difficult. I would actually, wouldn't be surprised by a West Virginia win. But here's the thing. I would not be surprised by a Penn State easy 17. We want to call that a 17-point cover is easy, but you're covering. No problem. 17 points, bro.
Cover, yeah.
The quarterback's back. James Franklin, I'm assuming if he loses, I like your thought. He's on a warm seat.
Warm seat. Warm seat's better, yeah.
He's on a warm seat. Obviously, their next 4 games are at home, and they're all going to be heavily favored. They could easily roll all the way to probably I misspoke, but they do pull Ohio State. But they got him at home, which is huge. So they're going to roll up until then. So anyway, I just don't lose. James Franklin could be warm.
Yeah. I would love to see a close game. I might do something if I have another game that I'm thinking about. This might be a situation where I buy it up to 10.5 on West Virginia, and I take it with another team, that I want to buy up a few points as well. I don't try to do a ton of those bets, but sometimes if I do miss a number and I'm like, listen, I want something on this game, I'll buy it up to the number I want and find another game where I want to buy a couple points. So there may be potentially like a small bet in that regard, but nothing I'm going to formally announce, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing it sucks is it's always West Virginia's number one strength is their O-line. It always has been for years and years on end. It's always been their O-line, right? Big white kids that can block up front. They just had one in the NFL draft. I think it was their center. All right, they always have kids that can block. Here's the thing. Penn State always got kids on the other side of the line that can fucking defend. Blitz and defend.
And PFF has their defense powering to the number 1 in the country.
Yep. See?
Penn State, that is.
Guess who's number 1 D-line in the Big Ten? Yikes. Yikes.
It is? Because you would think Ohio State, typically, just because
you would. Yeah, but they return a lot of studs back on the D-line specifically. Right.
Okay.
Ohio State has the best defensive backs, which is no surprise there. Generally pretty strong in the defensive back, category. But yeah, Penn State in terms of the D-line, number 1. Linebackers, number 2. DBs, number 3. There you go.
Damn,
And their quarterback returns from last year. It's going to be tough, bro. It's going to be. You want to sell West Virginia because they're at home, but it's hard because Penn State comes back. This is their year, dude.
All the things we're saying, I'm like, I just want to sit on the sideline for this.
That's what I'm doing. I
don't want to bet with my heart because everything is pulling me to Penn State. But I'm scared by the line movement, and I just don't want to bet against it. So very much we'll be switching between that game and for the 10 a.m. my time slate, and then the next game we're about to talk about.
Yeah, so this next game is pretty good. Clemson at Georgia, that's going to be everybody's kind of – we got the noon game there. We got the noon game here. I think the best one's going to be West Virginia. I think this one was kind of a dud. If you like scoring, I apologize. If you like scoring, this game was kind of a dud last year. 14-7, I think it was. Might be a little bit off by 3 points. This game was only 14-7 last year. I see Clemson being a lot better. I do. Cade Klubnik is back as a true freshman last year as a quarterback. He's back again for Clemson. I think I only heard, what did I hear? 3 total transfers from Clemson. Am I getting that right?
I think you're correct. Yeah,
dude, he is a huge high school recruit guy, old school now, I guess you could say. But yeah, so I love Clemson here. I see the number is dropping. A lot of people are taking Clemson. Last I saw on Twitter, Georgia had some running back issues. They're losing running backs left and right with their starting running back, and then also ETN, I believe, also had his issues early in the year too with either the injury or whatever. So I don't know if that really factors for Georgia. I don't think it's a huge deal, but they still have Carson Beck, right? Heisman, kind of a front runner, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah.
I just love Clemson here, bro.
You love Clemson. Okay.
I do. I know it's kind of in Georgia's backyard, so I would definitely say it's probably a home game for them, but Clemson's going to travel no problem. I don't think that the fans are really necessarily an issue because Clemson's going to show up for sure. This is the year for Clemson, in my opinion. In terms of this new playoff format, right? Florida State kind of owning the ACC here from very recent thoughts, right? Having such a great year last year. Clemson not even making the final. This is their year to say Clemson's like, we haven't gone anywhere. We're still serious about football. Mm-hmm. I think this is also Dabo's time to really say, like, listen, I'm not a shitty coach, I promise. I know it's all about me when I run out by myself in the tunnel. You know what I mean? Yeah. But, the 35th in experience returned in the country, which is nice. He has a culture that he's built there. And 12's a lot. I think I got it at 13.5. I'm going to go look really quick, but I think I got it at a much higher number there. But I just think that's a lot of points for a game like this. It's kind of huge for them. I got it at 14.5. Actually, I bought it up. But I just think this is huge. I got it at 14.5 minus 125, which is 2 touchdowns is a lot. What you got?
Yeah, well, I'm scared to take a side because if I were to do a side, if you forced me to take something, I'm going Georgia.
Wow.
I'm just not high on Cade Klubnik, man. I am not, and Georgia generally trots out a pretty damn good defense. But this is where it's week 1, and I'm scared to make a bet on the and because a lot of people I've listened to like Clemson too, and so it kind of has just been like I'd rather just watch and learn. However, if I'm going to make a bet on this game, and it is 50-50 that I do, I want to take the under. For one of the reasons, like I said, I don't love Klubnik for Clemson. They always have a good defense. We know Georgia always has a good defense. PFF has their defense ranked 2nd and 3rd. 2nd for Clemson, 3rd for Georgia.
Dang.
And again, these are just PFF rankings, but going off that makes me want to take the under because I think Clemson's going to be mad as hell because they're getting no respect. So that's the edge that I think Clemson has is because everyone's writing them off when they're ranked 15th in the country. And it's like, oh, this team sucks anymore. Haven't seen in the playoff for 3 years. Dabo Sweeney sucks. Won't get transfer players. I think they're hearing all this, and I think they're going to show up very disrespected. If I bet anything here, I'm going to take the under.
I like it. I see that it's sitting there, depending on what book you got. Looks like 48.5 is probably the number you're going to get. It opened at 48.5, so it really hasn't budged.
It bounced around a lot, but it's right back where it started.
Yeah.
And cash and tickets are very damn similar on it too. Actually, a little bit more on the over. I guess there's a little bit more cash on the under, but tickets on the over.
I just think this is a really emotional game for Dabo here. Neutral site, in Atlanta, neutral site. He knows he needs it. Especially after last season. He knows he needs it. And I would assume, I'm not a Klubnik lover, but I would assume a path forward has been paved and he would at least be fine. But it's up. Non-starters back, right? Non-starters back. So
on offense?
On offense.
Okay.
I would like to see some progression. And it's obviously going to be against one of the best defenses in the country, as always. Right? Kirby Smart defensive guy. So it's going to be a doozy what we're going to see. So
okay. That's those are good things to at least think about.
Oh yeah. It's good. I think The noon games are going to be great in this next one. I literally left it off the board. You wanted to put it back on because I have no idea. Miami at Florida. I was at the game last time it was played in 2019 in Orlando. I always say that was the craziest game I have ever been to in terms of fandom. The amount of people.
Is that a passionate rivalry game, would you call it?
It's not a passionate rivalry game. They never play. But when they do, it's wild. Clearly. I mean,
you get two Florida schools, two of the bigger brand names in Florida, too.
Florida State always play because that one's always super passionate, super insane. This one's double the trouble because it's so rare.
True.
Okay. This year's huge, man, only based off the head coaches, in my opinion. I mean, whoever loses is on the hot seat immediately. Napier loses, he's on the hot seat. Cristobal loses for Miami, he's on the hot seat. Miami is favored here, but it's at the Swamp, which I find a little surprising, but Miami is a better team in terms of on paper, talent-wise. Cam Ward is a good quarterback for the most part. But Florida also gets theirs back in Mertz. I'll say this. I'm not going to hammer this too much. I'm going to get any type of feeling you have. I have stayed away from this game. I don't have a pick, so that's why I'm not going to hammer it. Florida being in the Swamp is an extreme advantage to me. It's one of the hardest places to play. This place will be insane. Strictly for that, I think that's closer to 5 points in my eyes, not 3. I think it's 5. I would lean. Yes.
Okay.
It's that powerful. I would say money line bet for the value in Florida. You're probably going to miss it a little bit. I could see some money coming in on the Gators just based off value alone. It's a stay away game for me. I have no freaking clue. Everybody's got the same things at stake. So I didn't know what your thoughts.
Yeah, this is a high leverage game. You're right. That's why it's another exciting game. Also, another game I do not have a bet on. Everything I hear and listen to, there's been good points made for both. But yeah, it is a high leverage game for the teams. The spread has moved down from 3.5 to 2.5 for Miami.
Yep.
Probably a little bit better quarterback. I know Florida's guy kind of surprised the upside a little bit last year, and he's back, so that's obviously really good. But yeah, this is just such a high leverage game. I could just see it going any way. This might be a live bet game, if I'm being honest. This might be where I'm watching the first quarter. I fill it out, and then even if it's a worse number, I take it.
I mean, you could live bet this to the end. It's gonna come. I just don't see anything outside of 7 points in terms of victory.
Yeah. So a tease game then potentially.
100%, man.
If you're in the teasers, this is one of those because if you get a home dog. And they're at 2.5 now, so you missed the value in the 3 or the 3.5. But teasing them up to 8.5, that's the advantageous. You're going through the 3, through the 7. They're at home too, home dogs. I know in the NFL, great teams to tease. Actually, that might be a look there.
Let me hit you with this. Last 4 meetings have gone under on the Vegas total between these two teams.
Our last 4.
Yes.
What are we at here? What's our over under?
Sorry about that. I've been bouncing around a lot.
54
there
and a
we
half.
Go. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, 54 and a half. That's
I actually do like the under there. I have not made a bet on this game. I haven't touched it just because. Oh man, it's just up in the air. I didn't even know when I worked the game years ago. Back in 2019. It opened at 53.5, so it's under coming in on a minor level, but you know how it is. Some pros wait and will bet late.
Yep.
But also, Joe's come in late as well and will bet over. So I do like the under here just due to the passionate fan base. But as you know, 10 starters back for Miami Hurricanes here. So they got a lot of starters back on offense. So it'll be interesting to see. And Florida's not exactly, I would say, strong necessarily in terms of guys back. 52nd in the nation, so that's probably about mid-tier. I'll give you percentage tacklers back if I don't have the thing close on me. Yeah, they're pretty much middle of the road. Sorry, I was. Percentage of tacklers back is 53. Dude, you could look at numbers all day long.
You keep going back and forth on it. Yeah, this is.
I don't know, Bob. I don't know.
Tease Florida. You got me. I don't know the second leg. But
Man, if you could get 10.5 on the tees, Florida, but you didn't. But you know what I mean? That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would have that if I was looking at these games a month ago and deep diving. Yeah. But.
7:00 Eastern, Nevada at Troy. I like Troy here specifically at the 9. I know we talked about this a little bit pre-show, but only because Nevada's got to travel and they play week 0. We kind of touched on this a little bit the last podcast. Week 0 guys do not really perform well in week 1. And Nevada's coming off a super emotional game, almost winning versus SMU. I just think going to Troy is going to be a huge task for them. The spread is a little high. 9 does scare me. Sorry, I could pull this up on the all the old Action Labs here, but it does scare me a little bit, being the fact that Troy does have a brand new head coach. They do have a brand new roster, right? Only 2 starters back on both sides. You're going to get scared. Kind of a similar hunch play. Nevada does suck. I know they overperformed last week. I think traveling all the way to little old small town Nevada, just coast. I see the spreads are all over the place. FanDuel has a whole 1.5 point difference. Holy smokes. I don't even know what to say. If you can get maybe wait it out to see what you can get. I definitely don't like necessarily 10, but I got 9. I like Troy here. I know you probably don't have a feel on the game, but only specifically the reason I jumped in it is because of the week 0 Nevada.
That's enough for me. This is one of those things where that is a stat that is enough for me because, those week 0 teams, I think it's even more important than like when we look at the past 10 years and they're covering at like a 63%. Those teams that did not play week 1 that are playing a week 0 school that also played an FBS opponent.
Yeah,
but to have that high, just for them to be such a huge underdog and to be leading the whole time and then lose at the end, that is going to mentally drain you a little bit.
Totally agree.
Yeah, and now Temple has film on you, and I think that's more important than probably like the stats where I was trying to get at, just because of the transfer portal now.
Troy has film on you, but yes, I got you.
Just overall in the past 5 years, that obviously we get more and more in the transfer portal every year. So I think having film versus the other team not having film is just so much bigger. And here's the other thing too. Before last week, this line was Troy minus 16, and now you're going to make a correction to 9.5 because Nevada played SMU close when I thought SMU played like absolute shit. That's a Troy bet. I don't need to know a lot. That's a Troy bet.
I did not know that. But the only thing with Troy is the lack of returning talent. This could be a backdoor cover for Troy here, right? Coming out flat, getting down 7-0, right? They are. I haven't looked at they're one of the worst teams in the country in returning experience. Oof. I'll say this. This is a pro tip. You're not going to get this on any podcast besides 2 Joes and Wannabe Pros. I swear to God. Head coach of Troy is Jared Parker. Jared Parker used to be the interim head coach of Purdue when they fired there. Jared Parker also used to be the wide receivers coach at Marshall University when a young Corey Oxley was there. Awesome human being, super great dude, and a very good motivator. Played wide receiver at Kentucky when they had no allow. I love the guy. He's super cool dude, respectful, and knows how to motivate players. So I got a little bit of bias. Maybe do one of those. Maybe do one of those. Yeah. Maybe here's my beer here.
Is this his first year at Troy, or has he been there?
First year, man. This is it.
Oh, and first head coaching job too?
First, if you count the interim, do you? Okay, yeah. So, I just, I'm a big fan of his. So I'm going to be rooting for him a lot. I think he's got a lot in front of him. It helps that Nevada sucks. And the fact that you dropped 16 before this week is that's bold by Vegas.
A touchdown move coming off 1 week of data.
That's insane.
That's too big of a correction.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, let's go to the best game. My bet of the week. I don't know if it's yours. It's definitely mine. And it's an easy stat. I think the pros are too much on it. It's kind of scaring me. It's too good to be true. So now I want to jump back off it. I don't know. Notre Dame at A&M. A&M defensive line is worth $10 million. I don't know if you heard that or not. $10 million, the defensive line. That's insane. Elko is the first-year head coach for A&M, right, because Jimbo Fisher was let go. But Mike Elko is from Duke. And last year, Phil Steele, one of his best quarterbacks in the country, was named Riley Leonard. Played at Duke as well. Riley Leonard is he's crazy, man. Likes to run a lot, likes to get injured, likes to go crazy and scramble and all that shit. Guess where he plays now? He plays at Notre Dame. Funny enough. So now A&M has head coach of Mike Elko, and he's at home, and he has a $10 million defensive line, and his opposing quarterback that he's facing is the guy that he coached for 2 years at Duke. He knows his tendency. He knows his shit. He has a great D-line. He actually told Phil Steele, I don't know if this doesn't matter to me, but I guess I wrote it down in my notes, has the most elite defense he's ever coached. If you come from Duke, I would say A&M is probably.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
It's SEC defense. Thanks, Bob.
With the $10 million defensive line and going from Duke to A&M, yeah, probably the best defense you've ever had. Yes.
Fair enough, Bob. So I'll slow it down on what I have on notes. What do you have anything on this? I know you probably listened to the podcast. They probably said similar things. What A&M, is that your pick? It's my bet of the week.
Yeah, my bet of the week is A&M and the under. I am doing them separately, and I'm doing them both, and I'm very confident about both.
See, that's why it's too good to be true, Bubba. I hope we're right.
Yeah. But the big thing is because, like you said, Michael Elko is God, he's been so good as a defensive coach, and even at Duke, and he's going to know Riley Leonard so well. And now he's got the best talent he's ever had. I love that angle, man. I love that angle for the under and for A&M. Because we know A&M, like recruiting, God, they've been up there. It's just Jimbo kind of lost his touch as a coach. So I think Elko has just shown to do very good at his coaching stops. DC prior at A&M before going to Duke to take over the head.
I know, ain't that crazy?
Yeah, so I'm glad to know that we're on the same side because we did not talk about this. You told me this was your bet of the week, but we didn't talk about who.
Yeah.
But we're both aligned on the same side. And then let me go to look at this. The line has moved to Texas A&M too, it looks like.
Okay.
I mean, we're still at 3. I'll take that number. 2.5 would have been better. We missed that.
Yeah, FanDuel's got it at 2.5. So
but Notre Dame always has a great defense too. They always do. They have a defensive coach, Al Golden, D coordinator, is really good as a D coordinator.
Crazy he's there.
Hasn't been good as a head coach ever, but as a D coordinator, he's been really respectable.
I'll tell you this. I got some stuff for you.
Yeah.
I got some stuff for you. I'm coming in on the back end. Notre Dame lost Joe Alt, right? Top pick of the NFL draft. They only returned 2 offensive line returning starters. That's it. Only 2 of that line. And A&M, Elko specifically, is 7-2 against the spread as a home favorite. So I got a little trend in your way. Okay. I'm banking off the D-line here. $10 million going against 2 returning starters. Elko knowing Leonard and his tendencies. And A&M with the 12th man is always worth maybe 0.2 of a point.
Yeah.
If they lose, gosh dog it, A&M fucks me again. Sorry, bleep it out on the fucking podcast. But dude, A&M, I rode that ass last year. 11 returning starters on both sides of the ball last year. And then Jimbo got fired. So it tells you how successful I was riding that ass. But A&M, I thought that was their year. I thought it was their year to definitely compete in the SEC and show I was wrong. I'll just end with that. So it's always, maybe I'm 1 year off guy. Maybe I'm 1 year off guy. Maybe I'm the Jeff Fisher of football here. Maybe I'm 1 year off guy. You know what I mean? Like the fucking Rams went off when he left. You know what I mean? Like maybe I'm 1 year off guy. So maybe it's A&M's year to say, yo, what's good with it? Elko comes in, swoops in, similar to McVay. What's up, homies? All right, let's keep moving. Behind USC, LSU. I don't have a lot, but I'll tell you how I look at it a little bit. I know I said I was going to do a little research while we were doing it. I think definitely coming out here when you start a week 1 or a week 0, right? Returning starters matter. They know how to handle the season. They know how to handle a fall camp. So looking at experience returning always helps. I know with the NIL deal, it's a little crazy, right? But if they started before, that counts, right? They've started at another college, so I think it counts. So with LSU, they're 99th in the country of returning experience. So definitely bottom half.
Okay.
We'll hit up at USC, right? Big Ten, 104th. So they're basically tied, right? So then I kind of start going in. The trends factor in a little bit, especially when we're opening up the season, Because, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's kind of how you prepare your team going into the year. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't touch on this game, but Charlotte, I didn't tell you this at all. James Madison versus Charlotte. Bro, Charlotte's without 50% or more of their starters to start the year because of camp. They're all injured.
Holy shit.
Yep. Jumped on James Madison real quick.
Yeah, what a terrible camp.
I know, what a terrible camp. And they'll be out until conference play, FYI.
Wow.
USC only has 5 returning starters. Now,
not a surprise. They've kind of done what Colorado's done, not to that extent, but ever since Lincoln Riley took over, it has been transfer portal.
I know, but Lincoln Riley knows how to coach a quarterback.
He does.
You know,
people are apparently high on this guy. Their quarterback did only start one game last year. It was the bowl game.
Miller Moss.
Threw 6 touchdowns. He's been in the system, backing up Caleb Williams for a couple of years. So he's at least been with Lincoln Riley. And what I've heard is he's a system guy.
Great numbers.
And that Caleb Williams was more of a backyard football player and started kind of getting lazy in his second year at USC, that being last year, and that this Miller Moss guy he will play to a system. And so they think that's going to be very good with Lincoln Riley. And I mean, God, you look at the past 4 quarterbacks Lincoln Riley's coached. I mean, Baker Mayfield, Heisman winner #1. Kyler Murray, Heisman winner #1 pick. Jalen Hurts, 2nd or 3rd in the Heisman, 2nd round.
He's a whisperer, for sure.
And then Caleb Williams, Heisman winner, 1st overall pick. Yeah, so saying all that, I'm hitting the over. And I everything I've heard too, these defenses are going to be so much more improved from last year. Okay, well, I have to see it. Lincoln Riley has never, ever put a competent defense on his field in his entire head coaching career.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, if you would have blindly bet both these teams overs, 22-4. Blindly betting them because their defenses were so bad and they had some of the most prolific offenses. I know we've got turnover. I know we've got different players. I know we've got the transfer portal. Again, until I see an improvement in defense, I am going to take the over blindly. I do not care.
I actually love the bet. I saw Graham Nussmeier play, which is the quarterback of LSU, when he was there when they beat Purdue like 70. It was the worst beatdown I've ever seen in my life in a bowl game, but they played Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. I think it was last season. Dude, Nussmeier is an absolute stud, bro. That dude sling it.
He's been there for 3 years now, 4 years?
Yep.
So he's also that's been in that system.
Dude, the guy fucking slings it. I know Daniels might be the rookie of the year in the NFL. This dude is not a scrub.
Yeah.
For LSU.
I've heard the arm talent equal. He just can't run like Jaden Daniels, but he's got an arm.
When I did the SEC championship a couple years ago, now I've been out at EV Sport, he came in because Georgia was beating the shit out of him, right? They brought him in. They were scoring on Georgia's D. I know Georgia had their backups in, but the dude was slinging the football. I was like, this dude ain't a joke. Mm-hmm. And at the time I said, why don't we play him more often? Now, Daniels went on to have debatably the best college football season of all time as a quarterback, debatably last year. So it's kind of hard to say that now. But, yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. If you think Miller Moss is system quarterback under the quarterback whisperer of Lincoln Riley, and then I think Nussmeier is a stud. They do have a new OC, which they got a little co-OC going on, I just saw. But it's LSU. It's a neutral site. I didn't even look up the spread of it. Let's put it up here on the board.
We're at 4.5.
You're 4.5. I'll put it up for the fans here.
We're at 4. Sorry, 4.
Yeah, depending on what book you got. Man, I don't even know. What the total? We'll flash that really quick for the kids. 64.5. That's a lot too. I think it's a live bet for me. You're a live bet guy on some games you're unsure about. I think it's a live. If I could get a 3 for, I could probably make a decision. I'm leaning USC here. I think people are underplaying them. But at the same token, I don't know. Yeah,
what I had written down is the over, and then it was a question mark on USC. Because if I was going to take a side, I liked USC. You want to hear a crazy stat, though? Because, like, the cash and the tickets are, like, so even on the spread. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But the spread has moved, though. Let's see. Like, it's gone way towards USC. At one point, this was 6.5, all the way down to 4 now. But here's the crazy stat. Money line percentage.
Yeah.
98% of the cash is on LSU money line.
Oh, wow.
98%. And they're getting 93% of the tickets too. So why is everybody scared of even betting USC? Like, I don't think that this is a mismatch at all. So that just blows my mind. And when you have this game with two ranked teams that historically have been very good coaches, we know,
Yep.
I'm just shocked that there's no money coming in on USC. I'm shocked, and that also makes me want to play USC. Like, I want to side with what the books need.
Maybe the pros are waiting. Maybe they're waiting.
Yeah, who knows? That's just, man, I don't see percentages like that when the spread's 4. Yeah, if the spread's 13, okay, there's not going to be much cash on the underdog on the money line.
Yeah.
But this is a tighter spread. It's wild.
Interesting. In the last 5 years, there's been 113 games at 65-point spread. I don't know what that means, but that's ranked at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. That's ranked for 13th all time.
Say that again.
In college football,
Yep.
65 points over under is ranked 13th. So basically the last 5 years at 2.63%, it's marked as an over under.
Damn.
So
Okay.
I would, just based off the numbers, I mean, over's not a bad pick. I mean, that's a lot higher than I thought. I thought 65 would be buried.
Yeah, that's I like that a lot. I like that a lot. That's
I love it.
all
Okay.
I have left to say on that one.
I'm live betting on that one. That's where I'm at. I
Nice.
think it's going to be, it's another doozy.
Nice.
Well,
Love it.
that's all we have. We're at an hour and 11 minutes. We made it a long way.
Damn, we're that far, and we still have quick kind of, I guess, clean.
What you got?
Here?
Okay. What you got?
Well, I am currently shifting to NFL because that was our college football talk, correct?
Okay.
So we are entering now in the
Yes.
fiber pool.
You reminded me. Let's do it.
Nice. So I'm gonna click the submit button.
Okay.
Here's what we're doing. So we're gonna do a $50 little survivor pool in DraftKings.
Let's do it.
We 40 entrants. We didn't want to do one with like 10,000 entrants. Those are like impossible to cash in. So we're not going to win $1 million here, but we might win $1,000. So we will on a week by week basis. We will start talking about our survivor pick of the week too for the NFL. In addition,
That's going to be, yes, that is our, that's going to be, we'll probably lead off with that next week.
Okay.
On who our pick is for week 1. Right. And how we're going to approach it. Everybody approaches a little bit different on survivor picks, right? Do you just go with the easy out, maybe the biggest spread that's easy for a dub, or do you just try to blow it on a team that maybe is not that, not that good because you don't want to have to use them later?
It's fair. If you can really deploy strategy, look over the course of the season, look at everybody's schedule. That's the best thing. Will we go that deep? I don't know.
Right. We're gonna play it as we go.
We're gonna play it as we go. That's where we're at with that. I think next week there's an easy pick if we want to take the easy out, but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, we got to figure out how we're going to approach it because we don't want to blow something too early. Maybe not.
No.
All right.
No, I'd like to have skin in the game by week 10 still, at least.
I want to make it to week 10. That way I know I'm not a scrub. That way we can get on the cruise, the bachelor cruise, and know we made it. That way we're still not shitty.
Yeah.
All right, Facts, Lies, One Truth Network. 2 Joes, Wannabe Pros. I'm Ox. We got Meisch with us. We got our picks. We're going to let you know how we do this weekend because it's going to be good.
It's going to be real good. Do we recap? Do we recap it all? I forgot to put that in the notes, but that's just a thought. Like, kind of recap our favorite bets at the end.
We should. I got Notre Dame A&M is mine. Easily, I think we just went over it. A&M is easily mine. That's my bet of the week.
That is your bet of the week. Okay.
I will put them in the notes, and we'll tell people how we did.
Okay, and I think one of mine is going to be that over on the USC LSU. A&M with you. The under on that game. Those are my strongest fills.
I would say Alabama.
Those will be the 3 bets that'll be official bets of the podcast.
All right, I'll do Alabama as mine easily. As my cover the spread. And then definitely A&M is mine as well, covering the spread. And it's so tough. I'm going to go the James Madison. I didn't even put it on the list. It's not even fair.
Madison, though, has a chance to make the playoffs this year.
James Madison.
From what I've read, there's a chance.
They will not.
Okay.
-8.5 is what I have JMU at versus Charlotte.
Has it moved? Has that number moved since you got it?
I don't even know. Let me click on the game. It is not. It moved a point after they released that 50% of the starters are out, but it dropped, as in it opened at 11.5, but it dropped, it went back up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. Catch us on Apple Podcasts. Catch us on anywhere you get your podcast, and videos always on YouTube and Facebook. If you have Facebook, that's it. That's all I got. All right. We'll see you all next week. Yep. All right. See you guys. Peace.